Peace and praise, blessed ones. This is Blair. Welcome to the Vibe. Thank you for joining me, known listeners and new listeners. I want to first thank God for life, health, and strength. Thank God for His mercy and grace. Thank God for friends and family and their life, health, and strength. I thank God for the privilege and His forgiveness. I'm going to be real quick today. I just want to remind everybody that God created us in His image. If I got to say that every day, I will. Nobody asked to be here. We all know that. That's no secret. I think a lot of times we have used that in reference only to our children, but we didn't ask to be here neither. Our parents didn't ask to be here. But I think as time progresses and we get older and mature, it's like we can't. There's nothing that we can do. So I want to say that, like I say, I'm an advocate of love. I want everybody to get along. I want everybody to succeed and achieve in their life. I want everybody to prosper. I love love. I love peace. Sometimes I love quietness and stillness. But I want to be 1000% honest. When you share your business with the group chat, it then becomes public domain. When you are minding your business and something might comes in your sights, comes amongst your ears, comes in your peripherals, it then becomes open for public criticism. Now, we shouldn't misjudge anybody or condemn anybody, but we also have to remember to be kind. But this is the thing, as far as like when you're in relationships or you're in a business partnership, things need to be discreet and handled within the realms of all parties involved. So even when I talk about the Epstein files, entertainment, social media has become a public platform for people to express themselves and share their life with their friends and loved ones. Because again, sometimes you can't reach them by email or reach them by phone. But here's the thing. People who are in a romantic relationship or married or even business partnership, right? If you're doing something shady, whether you're cheating or mishandling, mistreating, or even doing some bad things in the public eye, whoever's who's ever the witness of that and experience it, they have every right to expose it. they have every right to give it to who they want to give it to. You know, I've talked about my infidelities before, and it's kind of, I have to revisit it because I was thinking about how there's like there's been a gender war, and because of social media it has been loud and broadcast. And again, I'm not for that. You know, you can have people who has been abusive, men and women, people who has been unfaithful, men and women, people who have just been in toxic relationships, men and women, and they give it to the internet, not God, but they give it to the internet, and then they get mad when someone decides to maybe challenge them to what they're doing or saying. Please forgive me. I'm working on my communication, and I want to be sure that I am clear. I'm not stumbling over my words because y'all know me. Sometimes the men that are upstairs, they don't always work. But I'm very passionate. I'm passionate of what I say. I'm passionate of my intentions. I just want to, you know, articulate better. But, you know, we have been on this gender war, and I'm going to say social media because this is where we say it. And I know people talk about how social media is a real place, and I will double down on it. Social media is not a real place for fake people. Because the crazy thing about it is when we hear that the social media is not a real place, we hear that on podcasts, we hear that on YouTube, we hear that somewhere from somebody on the internet or on social media. So when we decide that something doesn't line up with what we're doing, we want to discredit it. Two things can be true at one time. You know, I can be right and wrong at the same time, depending on who you ask. But, you know, when we're talking about right and wrong or morality when it comes to men and women, business or personal, romantic or cordial, we have to remember that language and words mean things. I want to be able to identify what something is. But because I am dealing with the real world, living in the real world, and also on the internet, like I know how to navigate and separate the two. It's just like with the artist and the art. Now, if you choose to correlate and mix them in together, that's fine. But I'm always going to say they're both a real place. However, we we have to keep in mind that how do you determine what to go by? If I see you say something like that in one part of the internet, and then you're saying something that needs to be heard or something that is of substance. On another part, how do I determine if you're being authentic or real or not? So this is why even when I talk about with God, where it's like he didn't intend for us to be liars or deceivers, I understand that when you are in the entertainment business or in like any type of business, any type of organization, and you're being monetized, sometimes you have to cap. I am not for that. As a inspired actor, there are certain roles that are acceptable. I mean, again, I don't want to sit here and be too deep, but like I said, we have to acknowledge God in every single thing. We might see actors and actresses doing certain roles and they're married and they're doing certain sex scenes with somebody who isn't their spouse, and some people might disagree with it. And I'm like, okay, that's their prerogative. But the point of it is, you as an individual have to stand your ground, have to set your standards and decide what's right for you. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, God is going to judge everything. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to not get along with everybody, but it goes back again to like having good character, making good judgment, and treating everybody right, treating everybody with grace and love. That's why we are intended to be kind to one another. Because when you are not kind to someone, and even if you are kind, but when you are not kind, when you are not loving, when you are what we would call today toxic, inappropriate, a troll, you then get deemed the bad guy. Which goes into another sense of what I wanted to say is, we don't always know the whole story. That's why you shouldn't really, like, you can't really give yourself, you can't really give a piece of yourself to thousands and millions of people, because they're going to, dictate, who you are based on a little bit that you give them. But you also can't give all of yourself to millions and thousands of people, because again, we all have a view and opinion. But the thing about it is, when I say everything matters and then there's other things that are meaningless, it's because of the trolls and the condemners out here. It's like emotions. When you have emotions, there's gauges. So you have to be conscious of the things that you say, the things that you do. And if you are easily influenced, or if you're an influencer, it's always going to be a struggle and battle, because as an influencer, this is how you make your money. You make your money off people giving you the attention by engaging with the things that you say, things that you do. But if you're somebody who's easily influenced, you have to struggle with saying that and saying, okay, you know what? I see what this person's doing. I agree with this person. I like what this person's doing. Let me try to do that. But you can't be influenced, because you got to think about your creator. I'm going to stand 10 toes down on God. Like I said, I'm not going to play with nobody when it comes to my Father, when it comes to my creator, because he has given so much to me, and to the people I love, and we have taken him for granted because I'm a human being and I'm flawed and I'm still trying to navigate. But because, again, as somebody who's empathetic and have compassion, I also get angry and sometimes want revenge and want vengeance because I don't like hate at all. I don't like no type of hate. I don't care if it's justified or not. Any type of hate kind of makes me feel it's cringy to me. So that's why I'm like, we should just like we have to be kind to one another. Like I'm in an age now where it's like, it's like entertainment. I still have to work on the things that I'm entertained by. It's cool, but sometimes it's like, man, I don't like people judging other people. Misjudging other people. It's kind of like I have loved ones, and there's been times me and my loved ones, I had to get on my loved one about something, and they're defending me or speaking on me, and I'm like, nah, I don't want you to feel this way about it. I'm just telling my story. But again, this is what happens when you share and give information. You can't be quiet. You have to speak. Our voices should be used to uplift and encourage, not belittle and destroy. The enemy will kill, steal, and destroy. That's what the enemy's job is to do. But when I think about certain things, I'm like, man, it's very hard out here. Like I said, I'm a father. I'm trying to be a better man, not just for my son, not just for myself, but for God. And it's like I owe God my life. I owe God everything. But there's still life that goes on around me. And I have to make these choices to be like, do I remove this from my life, or is this just another challenge that I have to face? Whatever I do, whatever I share, I think about and I'm like, okay, I have to take what comes with it. So I'm trying to be mindful now and better with the things that I put out in the world, the things that I say to people, and the way that I treat people. Because, like I said, we all can be a villain in ours and somebody else's story. But are you a hero in your own story? Are you always the hero in your story, though? So just reflecting, just a reminder on certain things, because I was looking at everything that was going on with 50 and T.I. and 50 and Jones, and it's like, for me, I can see something and have a opinion on it, but I don't speak it up. I don't speak it. I just ask God to be like, all right, I don't know the whole story. I don't know what's going on, but this is the type of thing when we welcome certain energy in our circle. Sometimes you have to. Sorry, I'm sending a text. Sometimes you have to remember that, and I shared this on TikTok. Shout out to Philip Anthony Mitchell. God won't give us grace to defend ourselves in public. Sometimes when we are being challenged, whether by the things that we see or by other people, sometimes it's important to be quiet. Like me, I'm a security professional. My job isn't to, arrest anybody or even put my hands on anybody. My job is to observe and report. In other words, if there's anything that pops off, my job says, I have to de-escalate it. I can call the police. Now, despite how I may feel about it on a personal side, this is my job. When you work somewhere, you have to follow their rules. It's just like if you live somewhere, if you live in an apartment or if you're renting out a property. I mean, there's laws that gives you certain rights. But when you're working or you're in somebody else's space, there's limitations. So what I want to say to people is when you know you'll be listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to this at. Again, I always appreciate it. So what I want to tell you is when you are somewhere that you don't have full control over, and that's another thing. And that you don't have control, you can't control what other people post, but you have to be mindful of what you react to as well because everything it's a reaction to everything, and that's the way, and that's just how my mind works. I think. I mean, people can say overthinking or overanalyzing, but like for me, I consider I consider things. I think about how this can affect me, how this can affect other people. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say I got haters. And there might be people that maybe do hate me. I don't know. There might be people who might not like me. And there might be people I might not get along with. But again, I am still, when it comes to certain things, I will never talk down on anybody. I will never belittle anybody because as somebody who has still yet to reach their peak, like I said, I am an advocate for love. I'm an advocate for, you know, treating people with kindness. Like I don't know about anybody else, but for me, it doesn't feel good treating people like crap. Like even when I play around and say certain things, it's like it doesn't feel right. Like certain things don't feel right coming out of my mouth because I had to work on myself in a way where it's like, okay, I'm not God, I'm not Jesus, but there's an example that I have to face. Like I need to, be stern and take affirmative action, but that doesn't mean that it's mean. See, there's context. What I mean is it's like unsolicited cruelty and just meaningless rudeness. Like I said, if somebody's coming to attack you, you have to defend yourself. If somebody says something and it's like not true, I have to like, hey, I gotta step in and correct you. But the thing about it is there's a lot of people out here doing some crazy stuff, doing some dirty stuff, treating people wrong, and I don't like it. I wasn't even supposed to take this long, but that's how it goes sometimes. When you're talking or when you're doing something and you're into it and you're passionate, sometimes you might take longer. It's just like something that my rest in peace to my grandfather. I remember one of the I don't want to say taglines, but we used to have a program in church and it said sometimes the service won't follow the program because when the Holy Spirit moves, it moves. Now this isn't the Holy Spirit uh that's talking to me, but I'm passionate. What I'm saying what I'm saying is I have a duty to my people, listeners. I have a responsibility to you to tell you the truth. And the truth is, when you put things out in the universe, no matter where it lives there. It then becomes public consumption. So just remember that next time you do something, next time you say something. But there's also times where you have to be quiet, where you just have to observe and collect, because God knows, God is watching everything. He sees all. So sometimes you have to leave things to God. It gets frustrating, it gets hard, but like I always say, difficult is not impossible. Um I Man, it's so difficult. Like I said, it's a daily battle for me. Like I haven't, like God hasn't isn't done with me yet. So there's certain things that I still have trouble with. I'm sitting here looking through my Apple Music catalogs and like, man, there's a lot of music that I need to like stop listening to. But I y'all stay safe, stay productive, and positive. This is Blair. I'm done.